you will start feeling your breath, your life force energy move up and down your chakras. And it will also release traumatic, stresses inside the body. And there's a somatic release that you'll have and you'll experience. And it's just so therapeutic and it's so powerful. And I started just diving deeper and deeper into it. And I've also had another experience in person with a Zen Buddhist Reiki healer that uses breath work for, one-on-one clients to release and to realign themselves to a higher purpose. And what I love about this holotropic is that you don't have to use any psychedelics or any plant medicine. And just through the breath, you can reach altered states of consciousness. You can reprogram your belief system. You can reprogram and also release and heal, because that's the biggest thing that I didn't even know I had childhood trauma that came up from the breath work and it got released. And it's quite interesting that our body can store in different parts of our body these traumas. And until you release it, they will stay in your body and it can create stress and it can create illness. And it's just been profound to tap into these tools for deeper healing, to do shadow work, to realign and to discover one's true self, all through this power of the breath.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Unlocked from Within. Today, we're joined by innovative tech entrepreneur, thought leader, and author of Zero to Engineer, Terry Kim. Terry is a tech visionary, breathwork specialist, and facilitator, and we delve into how Terry seamlessly blends spirituality and the principles of Kaizen across his businesses. His latest conquest, merging ancient wisdom with cutting-edge sleep tech, co-founded alongside his daughter June. He's pioneering sleep reprogramming to unlock human potential. Tune in to discover how Terry's blend of Kaizen, spirituality, and science is reshaping our approach to wellness. Let's dive deep into an enlightening conversation with Terry. Hey Terry, welcome to Unlocked from Within.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show, Marty.
Thanks for being on. It's such an honor to have you, on the show. I just finished reading your book, Zero to Engineer. And I found it quite fascinating. Obviously, my background, I'm not very techie minded or an engineer. I built a couple of my, websites from my other businesses. One's the NFPD Snow brand and my personal website, and also another website selling and facilitating portable ice baths. But probably only to about 70%. And then the rest of it, I've, used someone on Upwork to finish it off. So I found it quite fascinating, the path that you went, on your journey with Zero to Engineer. And what I really enjoyed about it, even though I'm not techie minded, was, you're giving people options that there's just not one route where you've got to go to university and then go into your IT career. It's quite a similar path. Like in another lifetime, I used to sell and lease industrial, retail, commercial real estate. And a lot of the other colleagues in that industry did have a university degree, where I didn't. I just went and got the certification and went through the motions. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's maybe a bit of a similar thing where people might just think, oh, you need to go to university to then get that job.
That's correct. It's been indoctrinated into our education system, our upbringing, our parents, right? I think play a major role in that mindset. That, hey, I didn't go to college, I want you to go to college, right? So it's a projection of maybe even their own unfilled desires. And we have to think sometimes maybe the old way isn't the way, right? Maybe there is a new way. And it's not about shortcuts, because there's no shortcuts to success. However, there are shorter paths, I would say, up a mountain. And if you can, follow a mentor or find guidance where there is a shorter path, why why waste the trouble of wasting 4 to 6 years when you can do it in 4 to 6 months? And so our whole mission is, we'll train you and break you into IT in 4 months versus 4 years of college. And it's like, think about real estate. Who goes to college for 4 years to go into real estate? They just get that certification license within months, and then they start, shadowing an agent, and then they start selling homes, right? So it's all about the practical, hands-on. If you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, great. Go the college path, because that is what you're going to have to learn, and you're going to have to dive deep into the books. But when it comes to becoming a technical, engineer of some sort, you have to get your hands on, right? And that's where, the skill sets really truly build.
Awesome. Yeah. And so I guess let's delve into your journey of how you got to be an engineer.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really have my dream set to be an engineer. Actually, I didn't even know how to turn on a computer until I was 21.
Wow.
I was back in Korea at the time, and my dream was to be a K-pop star and like a world famous DJ. So I was DJing at night and recording music during the day. And it wasn't until I watched this movie. It was kind of a twofold or two event process that really triggered my life, onto this path of being a tech engineer. Was really watching the movie Matrix in 1999, and that sparked some curiosity within me. And at that time, my ex-wife got pregnant, and it was like, hey, I need to look for a more stable job, something that is more stable for a family. And that's when I started researching the internet, and that was 1999, and it was pre-dot-com bubble. And I knew it was the future. And, when you spot something and it's the future, it can be exciting. So that's what really sparked my journey into the IT landscape. And I joined the Air Force, and that's how I broke into the IT industry. I joined the United States Air Force and started on the help desk and worked my way up to a network engineer, and then eventually became an instructor.
Wow. And like, was that still in Korea, or was that in the US? Like, what was a bit about, your upbringing getting to that point?
Yeah, so I'm a military brat. My dad served in the army. I was actually naturalized as a US citizen at 3, but my dad was stationed in Korea for the longest. So I ended up just really, growing up in Korea, in Seoul, speaking both languages. I went to private schools down in Korea. So, I was basically born, I was raised, I would say, first generation Korean American in Korea, but didn't come to the United States until I joined the Air Force at 21.
Wow. And like, how long did you stay in service for?
I stayed for 5 years.
Yeah.
And 3 years in the field and 2 years as a instructor. And that's where I actually learned that you could train people in months. So I was a technical instructor with a top secret clearance, and we were training, 18, 19-year-olds out of high school. And what do they know, right? So like, in 16 weeks, we had to get them battlefield ready to be able to support mission critical networks. So that's where I knew. And, fast forward like 8, 10 years, like when I started NGT Academy, it was in 2016. And I knew colleges were a scam, because like I knew you didn't have to pay $100,000 to go into college and get this degree to break into IT. And that's why I started NGT Academy.
Yeah, right. Okay. And like, I know, like, obviously Asian background, I'm half Filipino. So like in the Philippines, there's a lot of pressure in terms of, like, from my mum over the years, of going to college, getting a degree, becoming a doctor and whatnot. Did you have any of that pressure growing up to go to university?
My parents weren't like tiger parents, and they really let me do my own thing and explore my own passions and interests. I think the one influence they had was around the military. Like, my dad was like, hey, don't join the army. If you want to break into tech, you should look at the Air Force. They're the ones that are always working on the latest technologies. So that had some influence on me. You know, when I was young, there's definitely that, hey, do you want to be a doctor or a lawyer? Those conversations did come up from my mom. And actually, when I was young, I wanted to be a lawyer. Like
Wow.
one of my favorites TV shows, Suits.
Yeah.
Um, and I really loved that show. And yeah, but I never, it's because my mom always thought that I had this uh, like this interest, or I was really good at influence and like winning arguments. So she said, like, you'd be perfect to be a lawyer. But I never went down that path. Once I discovered IT, I knew I wanted to be in tech.
Awesome. Awesome. And like, that was just all around what inspired you in the movie, The Matrix?
The Matrix, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. It's a great movie. It's like one of those movies where, you know, I feel like you can keep going back and watching over the years and you still find something new in it or learn something new in it. Just like a great book. You know, if you always go back over the years and you can keep going back, you'll find some piece of nugget in there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a good metaphor for a lot of like just perspective of the world and whatnot. And it was a huge catalyst for me, at least watching that and um wanting to break into IT, wanting to become a hacker, wanting to be like that coder, and like it was a spark, I would say.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome stuff. And so like where did the journey unfold after that? After, you know, you served your time, then where did you go after that?
Well, I started my first brick and mortar business. I was, really fond of internet cafes in Korea. They're like on every block, and they weren't quite mainstream in 2000 in the United States. So I had this big idea of launching a franchise network of, these PC cafes. And I ended up just opening up my first internet cafe outside of Keesler Air Force Base, where I was an instructor. And business was booming. Actually, that business took off like a rocket ship. We had people waiting in line or waiting on the sofas to wait for a station to be open, and we would have LAN parties till sunrise on weekends, and it was a blast until Hurricane Katrina hit and it wiped that business out, and I had to go get a job. And I latched onto my original dream of working for Cisco Systems one day, and I said, you know what? I've learned network engineering in the military. I was an instructor. Let me figure this out on the civilian sector. But, quite funny, I had to start from the ground up. I actually got my first network technician job. So it was kind of a demotion because I was an engineer in the Air Force and an instructor. But I took that technician job at 28K per year and climbed the ranks and broke six figures within a 2-year time frame. So I tell students all the time, you could start off with an entry-level job and break six figures within a couple years before your peers even graduate from college. So that's how I got into the civilian sector. And at 31, I reached my dream job. So it took a decade. I think the best things or best dreams, big, wild dreams, take about a decade to accomplish. And so at 31, I accomplished that dream. And it was at that time, once I got into that dream job, was like, hey, is this it? Do I just retire and work here for 40 years? And that's when my entrepreneur, bug hit me and wanted to make more impact and legacy. And so that's when I got the big idea of starting NGT Academy.
Awesome. That's awesome stuff. And like, I know, like you say in your book, Zero to Engineer, like there was a piece there that actually stood out for me where you said like, to move up the ranks in IT and not get stuck, obviously, one of the sections is like, don't go and work in the help desk area. But the other thing that you did speak about in it was like your any goals or milestones that you hit, you said like write down and record, those dates of the things that you've ticked off or you've accomplished. Like, where did you learn to know from the get-go, okay, each time I hit a milestone or an accomplishment, I should jot that down and sort of create I guess, a list of all the things that you've achieved. So when you do have those quarterly meetings with with management and whatnot about how your performance is, how did that all come about?
I think it came from just being ambitious and hungry in my career early on in my 20s. I started using Evernote 2004, started using it to really journal. And I talk about it in the book. It's like really understanding your goals, because when we write to paper, it's like a subconscious program that's happening. As you write that, you're really manifesting. So like words are spells, and also writing is like magic. It's like taking what you're thinking about and writing it, and it's also imprinting on the subconscious mind, which is basically your belief system. It's what empowers you. It allows you to move through the hard times. So I'm a big advocate of journaling, also affirmations, like journaling in the evening, writing down the top 3 things you want to work on when you wake up, things that maybe you're grateful for as well. So gratitude is a big part of my practice and part of journaling as well. And I think from that space, we can create more abundance and make more things happen for us personally in our career and also in our personal lives.
Awesome. And like, I think I just touched on it earlier. You said, like, if you are wanting to get into IT, becoming an engineer, not go straight for that help desk job. Like, how did you learn about that? Like, to bypass that section?
So great question. In the military, I had to start on the help desk, and I hated it. Within 6 months, I literally hated my job, because I was like, this is like Groundhog's Day on repeat. I'm just like troubleshooting PCs and printers. In the beginning, it was fun. But as soon as I realized that that was just tier 1, that's just the front line. Like, I wanted to be in the back end. I wanted to understand the technologies, the infrastructure, how these packets moved in the network, how to secure it, how to protect it. Because that was my hacker mind. Like, I knew there was hackers on the internet, and cybersecurity was going to be huge. And so I wanted to be on the good guys team, the blue team, so to speak, versus the red team when we're talking about cybersecurity and knowledge. And the help desk, going back to it, I've seen so many students or aspiring IT professionals, they stay stuck on the help desk, and they think that they have to be there for years before they move up. And it is just it's just not true. And you can skip the help desk by just positioning yourself as a junior engineer. And if you can step into a role where you're at least an administrator, administrating the network or the servers or the cloud or whatever IT infrastructure, is that you're going to be able to move up much faster versus being stuck on the help desk. And the big fatal mistake that a lot of people make, which I highlight in the book, and I'll just spill the beans here, is they go after the CompTIA A+, because that's an entry-level certification. Once they get that cert, they basically position themselves for help desk roles. And my advice is you can skip the help desk and move right into a higher level entry level roles, such as network technician, which is what I started off in the civilian sector, network administrator, junior engineer, associate engineer positions, and you'll be able to climb the rank much quicker.
Awesome stuff. And like, how you said when you were stuck in the help desk section early in your career and you hated it, how did you, like, was there moments there where you felt like, oh, maybe IT isn't for me, an IT career? Like, did you have that self-doubt?
I didn't have self-doubt in that, because I knew that the help desk was a temporary position. And when I looked at the network and server guys, I knew they were making 3-4 times more than me, and I knew that I would get into that role one day. So, outside of my help desk duties, I would go talk to the server guys and like, hey, what are you doing for the Exchange email? Like, and I would ask all the questions, and I would also try to shadow them when they're working on a building cutover. I'd be like, hey, can I tag along? just for an hour, see what you guys are doing over there. And that's how I really immersed myself. But it was really seeing the big picture, seeing the end goal in mind, seeing that I wanted to be a Cisco engineer one day. And if you have that end goal in mind, that's what I recommend. You know, if your goal is like, hey, let me just jump into the help desk, I think that's a wrong plan of action or thought. It's like, hey, I want to be a CIO, or I want to be a tech entrepreneur one day, but I'm going to cut my teeth in IT. That's how I would go about doing is, what's the end goal? What's that dream job? And then you can reverse engineer from there.
Powerful, powerful. So would you say, like, early on in your career, like, would you have a special technique about how to write goals down? Like, was there a way that you discovered that, you know, there's a right way to write goals down, or a different way, whatever work? Like, I feel like everyone's got a certain way they write their goals down, whatever works for them. But like, what works for you?
Yeah, in terms of goal setting, what works for me is just focusing on the top 3 goals and then applying the 80-20 Pareto rule. What is the 20% that's really creating 80% of the impact? And so that's what I focus on. And then the low priority task, I will delegate to my chief of staff or to my, my team. And so that's how you can really focus on the top priority goals, and then ask yourself, are these goals aligned with what I want to achieve? And does that compound over time? Because instead of trying to go after huge goals, I don't know what the exact stat is, but New Year resolutions, I think it's something crazy like 80-90%, basically give up, after like setting these New Year resolutions. And it's because they don't have enough habits and routines that they set themselves up for in order to have a massive impact over time. And that's where I bring in my Kaizen principle. It's my number one principle that I live by, and I also apply it to my business as well. And Kaizen is the concept of continuous improvement or change for good. And we can take this principle with any problem in our life or in our business, analyze that problem, and create a solution where we can test it. And then once that solution starts working, we can go ahead and streamline that as a task or a goal that we're going to work on every day, every morning, or every night. And that starts compounding. And here's the powerful thing. If you can Kaizen 1% every day, 1.0 to the 1 power is 37x. So in 1 year, you can 37x your life in any area if you apply this concept.
Powerful, powerful. And like, how did you discover, Kaizen, the Kaizen way?
I actually don't know where I got the Kaizen. I think it was an article I read in my 20s, and it was this concept that Toyota out of Japan came up with as a business improvement framework. And basically the Toyota manufacturing line implemented this, and they said, anytime we see a problem on the manufacturing line, we're going to raise a red flag. And that red flag indicates it halts production. And they fix that problem or improve it and make it better. And then they continue, they start up production again. And this concept is so beautiful because it's about just improving a little bit at a time and using the compound effect. So over time, you will have drastic, remarkable results. So, there's a great book, Atomic Habits, that talk about these tiny habits that create remarkable change. It's the same concept. It's using the Kaizen principle. So over time, you're going to see results versus, trying to wait for magic to happen overnight or trying to do a miracle breakthrough. This is something that is tried and true and tested and will work if you just put in the time consistently with discipline.
Yeah, powerful, powerful. And do you think like having your first child, your daughter, at such a young age, in terms of like how we live these days, but like, was that a driving factor, like to think bigger, like thinking of ways, well, how can I think bigger in my day to day?
Absolutely. I think having children also makes you mature and grow up much faster. And it creates a sense of, I would say, urgency to be able to be a provider and a protector of your household. So I think it played a huge part of why I considered sacrificing myself to go into the military. I literally thought that was a sacrifice, but I was willing to do it because I knew, one, it was going to provide the best medical support for my family, for the newborn, and two, bring stability. And then three, it will give me the discipline and shape me up to the man who I need to become in order to be the man of this household. So it did play a huge factor in me even joining the military.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. I've got a 2.5-year-old and a daughter, 2.5-year-old daughter. And yeah, it's just those thoughts run through me of like, how can I think bigger, to be the best version of myself each day, so that, I can be of service to her or help her on her journey in any way. And yeah, before that, it was more focused on, well, me and my wife. But because she's there now, it's made me think a little bit bigger, or, a bigger picture. So there's definitely a massive driving force with having her in my life. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a 3-year-old actually as well. And it's shifted having another kid in such a big gap has also really enlightened me in terms of just how I want to carry myself, how I want to be perceived, and how I interact with my kids every day. And it's also the legacy, right? Wanting to provide for the family so they can, reach their dreams much faster than we had to struggle with.
And do you feel like, like that journey from basically not being an engineer to becoming an engineer, like, was there any setbacks or obstacles that you had to overcome in that timeline?
Yeah, I think there's always setbacks in our life with life events and also just career stagnation and whatnot. And I think sometimes, we get so comfortable. The setbacks are actually the universe giving us signs that we need to press forward and get through this lesson and whatnot. So I've had many setbacks. Like, when I had my first brick and mortar business, I thought I was going to be an entrepreneur and franchise that. And Katrina hit, and that was completely out of my control. And that was devastating to not only my business, but my entire family. I was depressed and I hit one of my lowest of lows in that. But from that fall came a new perspective. It came, TK that wanted to break 6 figures to, become a top engineer in the field, right? Like that drive, that ambition came from that desperation. And I think there's only 2 ways people will take action. One, they have to be inspired by someone or something. And then 2, it's like when they have the back against the wall. And I've had my back against my wall so many times, which allowed me to propel and become a catalyst and a fuel to my next chapter in my life.
Yeah, powerful. And so, like, going on your journey and that feeling of, is this it? So where did that path take you next?
Well, it took me down this entrepreneur path. I really loved, watching all these companies out of Silicon Valley make change and innovate. And so I've been always like compelled to build something. And I've always been a fan of like Steve Jobs and what he did with the iPhone and just disrupting the whole space. And I always wanted to start something. And that's where my entrepreneur journey began, was when I reached the peak of my career in the corporate sector was, hey, I only got one life. Let me try to build something from nothing. And it really started in the beginning wanting to do something big from an ego perspective. And that business crashed and burned. But I learned so much from that failure, running that business, losing $250,000 of life savings because I bootstrapped it and then tried to get it funded and had some runway and learned a lot. But in life, anything worth pursuing, you're going to run into a lot of resistance and a lot of roadblocks. And that's a testament, I think, from the universe to see if you got the grit, do you have the perseverance to make this become a true reality? And that's where the fun begins. And that's the journey. And if you like the journey or the process of building something or becoming the best version of yourself, that's the beauty, I truly believe, is in the process.
Yeah, powerful. And like you touched on that first, well, I guess you could class it your second business that crashed and burned. Like, what was the intention of creating it? You said there was a bit of an ego side of thing. Was it out to prove to anyone more so than the intention of how like this is actually going to serve more people? Or was it about you in terms of, I'm going to create this business so I can make, I can make this amount of money, which means then I don't have to go back to working for someone else?
Yeah, so that was like a little over 10 years ago, right? And it's like, I was in my early 30s. So I think I was 32 at that time. And it was seeing all the founders on TechCrunch. It was seeing like, wow, like I would read all these biographies or founder journeys, and I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. And I always had that mentality, like that no one was born a genius, right? Steve Jobs wasn't born like I'm gonna create, an iPhone, right? Like it all came through all the hardship. Like he had a huge fall. He got ousted from Apple, literally. He didn't innovate that company until he hit his lowest of lows and started Pixar and sold it to Disney. And then Apple pulled him back into the company. And he made his legacy after that. And I would say, I lost the original question.
I guess the intention of when, like, what was the first intention of creating that business?
Yeah, so it was wanting to be on Forbes, wanting to be on TechCrunch, wanting to build a software as a service back in 2013. SaaS was so hot. There was this new coding language that was super trending, Ruby on Rails. And I was trying to learn Ruby on Rails. And I was like just diving into this world of tech startups. And I was truly passionate. But my ego was in the way of really understanding the intentionality, the impact. It was a software app. It was basically a cloud project management app for IT teams. So it was in my domain of expertise and area, but it was chasing the money, chasing to build a unicorn. And I think there was a lot of lessons learned there because I had a huge spiritual awakening at 40. And since then, it's changed the way I think about building business or products and services with the mission and the values in mind right from the start, right? It's not the model. It's not how we make money. It's about who are we going to serve? What's the product and service? How is it going to be valuable? And really thinking about that intention right out the gate.
Powerful, powerful. And, you touched on, you had, I guess you call it a spiritual awakening around when you were 40. So how long after this first failed business did that awakening happen?
So the awakening happened actually around 3 years after I started my second tech startup, which is I run ngt.academy right now. So, yeah, 3 years into this business, NGT Academy, and I had my awakening. And, since then, I've just been really incorporating this, this reality where I'm really focused on the mind, body, and spirit, and really balancing that out and really building a lifestyle where it really balances that out versus back in the day, it was just like work, 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 and that's it. And that's not a good way to build a business, in my opinion, because there's a lot of hustle mentality online, and you don't have to live your life working 80, 100-hour work weeks. If you're truly passionate about something and you can find your ikigai, which is another Japanese concept, where I can take what I'm truly passionate about, look at the skills that I have or my domain expertise, and really line that up with my purpose, and what the world needs and how I can make money. If those four things intersect, that's my true meaning. And if I can find that ikigai early on, the earlier the better, because that you can just focus on that one thing and continue to just do that work, instead of jumping from one idea to another and to another and to another.
Fascinating. And like, I guess for the listeners out there that they've just had a business fail, what were the techniques that pulled you out of that first failure? Like, what was, the feelings that came up obviously after that? Like, did you have any, did you fall into depression, or, how long did it take you to get out of that hole or that pit?
Yeah, it took me about 3 months. It was the longest downward spiral I was ever on, because I felt like a total failure, like all the rejections from investors, like it literally made me very pity. Like I literally was self-sabotaging myself, and my self-worth was like at a zero, and I got so depressed. I mean, real depression. And I think a lot of founders don't talk about this, is that as an entrepreneur, you could have such severe depression where you will have suicidal thoughts. You could end up that depressed. And that was me. I had like $7 or $11 in my bank account. And I still remember it. Like, I thought like my life was over. Like, that's the feeling I had. And it wasn't until I started listening to Tony Robbins that got me out of that hole. And I started picking myself back up. And I committed to myself at that time that I was never going to ask investors for money in the state of just desperateness, right? And there was all these moments that I just had this feeling of like, I never want to ever feel like that again. And I think that's what really pulled me out, but also shaped me to the entrepreneur that I am now, is having gone through those setbacks, those major failures.
Wow. Yeah. I think it's, I don't know if it's for you, but like one of my worst years of being an entrepreneur was the second year of COVID, obviously due to the amount of lockdowns with one of my business. It's a skiing, snowboarding brand. So no one could go to a ski resort and that. At the same time, Apple brought out like a lot of our Facebook and Instagram advertising was our main way of getting sales. And that was around, I think it was around February, when Apple said, oh, we're upgrading our security, but it just destroyed their Facebook algorithm. So we were getting days where we're just dot in sales, and we're throwing money and nothing's changing, and we're trying to test and tweak. And then 6-7 weeks later, it was the birth of my daughter. And what was interesting is the year before, the first year of COVID, we did our best years of sales. So we were like, oh, okay, it looks like this particular business is taking off. Maybe we'll plan to have our first child, since we can't go anywhere. And then obviously in 2021, it just, everything was happening at the same time. Basically nearly went bankrupt. And, we had to figure out, day by day, what can we do to keep moving forward? And I say to a lot of my coaching clients, because one of the things I do is I'm a mindset coach and human behavior specialist, is the one thing that got me to keep going, putting one foot in front of the other, was the power of breath work and cold therapy. It just gave me one thing, just enough to center me and keep me neutral, to come up with the solutions to how to get out of this hole, which, obviously we can touch on your, all the things you do with your breathwork expertise. So yeah, you want to go into that?
To go into that. So I was always like really passionate about personal development. And so I first got introduced to breathwork through Wim Hof in 2019. I went to his event, and actually I brought my whole management team, and we had it uh, experienced his event in San Jose, California, and it was very intriguing to me. Like, how does this guy in shorts climb Mount Everest, right? And how does he, like, with his hand, control like the energy centers and the flow in his body and like thermoregulate his body? Like, I just was like, whoa, this is insane. And so I learned how to do Wim Hof breathing, and that got me really fascinated about breath work. But it wasn't until fast forward, like now 3 years later, where I'm deep into my meditation practices. I'm deep into journaling, biohacking, you name it, ice bath. Huge proponent. Love that you're selling these portable ice bath. And so Wim Hof, ice baths, breath work, and then fast forward 3 years, I have my first experience doing holotropic breath work, and completely blown away. Now, you know, I've done many forms of plant medicines to reach altered states of consciousness or work on myself and do shadow work and all of that. But at the end of the day, what I experienced through holotropic was just mind blowing, because I reached a state where I was in complete ecstasy and bliss. And I've only experienced this before with plant medicine. And what I experienced in my first holotropic was a DMT release coming out of my pineal gland. And this is a chemical compound that gets released. If you've seen the documentary, I think it's DMT Molecule on Netflix, they had these studies where they were doing DMT and smoking it, and they would have these near-death experiences, and all of them experience very similar kind of out of body and very mystical, and this is basically when the DMT compound gets released from the pineal. And I never thought you can experience that through breath work, and it's on these breath holds that we can experience this. And the breath work that I did was about 60 minutes. So it's 60 minutes of deep breathing in and out through the diaphragm up to the chest, and doing these huge breath work exercises. And if you do that enough for a long time, you will oxygenate your body, and you'll go into kind of like hyperventilation, and you will start feeling your breath, your life force energy move up and down your chakras. And it will also release traumatic, stresses inside the body. And there's a somatic release that you'll have and you experience. And it's just so therapeutic and it's so powerful. And I started just diving deeper and deeper into it. And I've also had another experience in person with a Zen Buddhist Reiki healer that uses breath work for one-on-one clients to release and to realign themselves to a higher purpose. And what I love about this holotropic is that you don't have to use any psychedelics or any plant medicine, and just through the breath you can reach altered states of consciousness. You can reprogram your belief system. You can reprogram and also release and heal, because that's the biggest thing, that I didn't even know I had childhood trauma that came up from the breath work, and it got released. And it's quite interesting that our body can store in different parts of our body these traumas, and until you release it, they will stay in your body, and it can create stress and it can create illness. And it's just been profound to tap into these tools for deeper healing, to do shadow work, to realign and to discover one's true self, all through this power of the breath.
Yeah, it is amazing, fascinating, and a powerful thing. Like, I delved more into the personal development space purely out of the frustration with the challenges I was coming up when I was a commercial real estate agent. That was the blessing of that frustration, because it made me want to go seek out more answers and I had more questions and the curiosity. And I one of the years, like I think it was 2014, like I was earning $60,000, and I signed up to a coach for 12 months, where, you know, you got your monthly coaching call and you had all these assignments and homework to do throughout that year of what you want to do and get clear on your vision and what you want to achieve. And that year, like, I wrote down a goal to earn $300,000, and I've never earned 300,000 at that time, but in that process, I went from $60,000 to $218,000 from real estate investments, as well as what I was earning in commercial real estate. But through that journey, the coach at the time, he planted that seed of, like, you know, the feelings I had was unfulfillment. I felt like I could be doing more, and I wasn't doing what I truly wanted to be doing. And he planted the seed of, you know, do you see yourself as a coach to help and serve people? And at that time, I was like, I'm just enjoying this stuff for myself. But he planted enough belief, because I didn't believe I could be a coach or help anyone. And he had a strong enough belief and conviction, and so I went down that journey, and it was like a 2-year certification. But one of the workshops, there was multiple workshops of different modalities we had to go through to get this certification, and one of them was a 3 or 4 day workshop all about the different modalities of breathwork. So at that point in time, we didn't touch on the Wim Hof, but we did do like open-eyed breathing in pairs. We did laying down, and one of them I got to experience that altered state, and it was the open face breathwork, where one person's like just reminding you to breathe in and out, whether it was, I think it was about half an hour, and you swap over. And it was mind-blowing. There was about 100 people in that workshop, and at the end of it, the presenter just said, you know, put your hand up if you had an altered state experience. And it just blew me away. And that's, after that experience, I just was like, I need to know more about all the different breathwork modalities.
Wow. And you were facing each other. How were you guys breathing? Were you eye gazing as well?
So yeah, eye gazing, and you couldn't move. You had to just stay on that eye gaze while one person was breathing, and the other person was just making sure you were breathing in and out. So that was the focus. And I could see the different layers of beyond the skin, right down to the skull. It was out of this world. But I was hooked.
And how were you breathing? Through your nose or your mouth?
It was through my nose, out through my mouth, going. But it was
I see.
It was building up to that holotropic way. Yep. So like, I've experienced doing holotropic once, and I've seen like videos on YouTube and that. It sort of looks, it can spook some people out if you go and watch the stuff. But I think I was blocking myself because I visually wanted to see in my holotropic experience, like it was, there was but I didn't get to visually see. It was a complete sensation, and the energy, it came in through, like you said, through the pineal gland, the energy throughout my whole body. It was just like I could feel it coming in from the top of my head and releasing out and coming in through my head, through my hands, through my fingertips, and going throughout my whole body. And I've never experienced anything like it. I think it went for about 3 hours, the session. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Powerful.
Yeah, the eye gazing is interesting too, because you're basically seeing, as you eye gaze into someone's eyes, that is the seat of the soul. And once you get into a deep state, the person will disappear. And that's what you experience is a powerful eye gazing, infused with some deep breathing. That's actually a powerful exercise.
Yeah. So it's something I facilitate, just similar to the Wim Hof versions, whether that's, bringing people into an ice bath or just doing the breath work. And I guess speaking about it, I think spirituality and business is connected. Like, if you want a successful business, you've got to be doing all the things. You can't, you've got to look at what's going on in your personal life, what's going on in your business life, and there's got to be that synergy for it to all work. But I feel like people think there's a disconnect. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there are certain entrepreneurs that are just unconscious and chasing the money. And I think there's also another set of entrepreneurs that are just cut from a different cloth, or just intention wise. They're not chasing money, they're chasing legacy or impact, meaning, ikigai, purpose. So I think that's the main difference. And if you are more of the conscious set of entrepreneurs, trying to make meaning of life and make impact and service of others, then spirituality becomes a natural focus area, because now you're operating from your heart versus your head. And so it's like, hey, the ego's in the mind and the head, but how about if we operate from the heart, right? And that's a different perspective. And if we can all operate from the heart, I truly believe that the world would be a better place. So, focusing on that, I think is a competitive advantage, in my opinion, because that's what truly people now want these days, is authentic people that are caring and that are compassionate and that are really trying to make the world a better place.
Powerful. Yeah. And so what happened with, your breathwork journey? Now you facilitate these spiritual workshops. Can you tell us about what goes on, and how did you get to that path of facilitating breathwork? And
yeah, I'm a practitioner by trade, so I have to I have to learn, and there's so much of learning I can do, and I have to actually just do it. And so, this was really a calling. I didn't even think I was going to be a breathwork facilitator, and everything just lined up. And, earlier in the year, my friend invited me to training with Mantak Chiak in LA. And he's one of the, Grand Master Taoists living in this world right now. And we're just so grateful and blessed to have him. And when I met him for the first time, I was just like, wow, like we just hit it off. And I trained with him for a few days. And then I got into this masterclass, Know Thyself, and week 5 with breathwork, and it was holotropic, and I didn't even know it was holotropic. And then I'm in Costa Rica, and then there's another buddy, a good friend of mine, running this eco village out there in Costa Rica called Yoko Village, and he's like, hey, I highly recommend doing a one-on-one session with my good friend. She's like a Zen Buddhist healer and Reiki healer, and I had my first in-person breathwork therapy session with her, and it was just like, wow, like all the signs were like, not only have I experienced what this has done for my well-being, but wow, what a powerful tool to allow everyone to experience this. So I started just playing around with different, music soundtracks, and, my passion for just meeting Mantak. I was like, you know what? Qigong is going to open up the energy centers, make the body move, get it primed. And I thought, wow, what if I put Qigong in front of the holotropic, right? Release all the energy, get the body, get everyone into their bodies. And now I go into the breath experience. And then what if I down regulate with a beautiful sound bath? And it just like all came together, like movement, breath, and sound. That's going to be my jam. And my brother allowed me to facilitate my first one in April in Costa Rica.
Wow.
And it was wild. It was a wild experience. And I know my higher self was channeled to me to be able to deliver this beautiful, potent medicine, and it was funny because I got really sick 2 days prior to the event, and I didn't know why, but I ended up fasting for 2 days. And, there are no coincidences. And I truly believe that that's why I was able to deliver such a powerful container. And I would say, my journey is quite different than any other breath work, I would say, experiences you might have had on your own or going to a Wim Hof event, because it's very shamanic, my journey. And it's intentionally like that. And I call it the Awaken with Om event, because Om is the first sound of creation before the breath. And we focus on Om mantras to activate our energy centers. And my whole goal is to activate your pineal. Your pineal gland, for those that don't know, is your spiritual eye. It's your third eye. And from that, you can experience, altered states of consciousness, but you can go deep within yourself just surely through meditation and breath work. And you can decalcify also this pineal gland. There's multiple ways through breath work, through getting off fluoride toothpaste, stop drinking tap water, start drinking or eating more whole greens and vegetables and fruits and things like that. But the breath is one of the fastest ways to activate this center. And to kind of give you a quick preview, you can visit Awaken with Om, and it's about awakening the power within. So that's what this event is about. It's about 3.5 hours. And yeah, it's a beautiful experience. And if you've never experienced it, I highly recommend coming to one of our events. Our next event's on December 3rd here in Phoenix. And we're going to have some amazing special guests on the show or at the event as well to provide the Qigong. And then I'll be guiding through the breath work. And then I've got a mystic sound healer and brother Fabian to do the sound bath at the end.
Awesome stuff. Sounds great. Yeah. And the type of people that you're seeing that are coming to the events, is it entrepreneurs? Is it a mix of entrepreneurs and just everyday type of people? Like what are you seeing?
Yeah, we see a lot of people that are doing, deepening their spiritual practice, yogis, coaches, entrepreneurs, but even people just, at Costa Rica, they were just vacationing, right? And they're like, hey, let me check out this breathwork event. So I think this event applies to anyone that wants to deepen within their body. They want to heal any kind of trauma, to be able to reprogram their subconscious. So if you're about, creating a better reality for yourself, a better life, this is a 4-hour journey that could, replace maybe 4 years of therapy. That's how deep and powerful this could be. And a lot of people are sometimes kind of like skeptical, like, what do you mean? Like 4 hours, I'm going to change my life? Well, you could change your life in one breath. And that's the power of it. So, without, having a perspective, I encourage everyone to have an open mind, because I had an open mind going into this. And if I didn't have an open mind, I would have missed out on a lot of good stuff for my well-being, right? So this is for anyone that wants to be, the best version of themselves, but they want to find themselves. And they want to find themselves from all the chaos and the hustle and bustle. How do we ground ourselves back to our true self, where we're breathing deep, taking 5-second breath, right? Because a lot of people will just breathe and react in their upper chest versus breathing all the way down to the belly. So if you're feeling anxiety, if you're feeling like you're worried about the future or you're traumatized about your past, how about you just take a quick 5-second inhale through the nose, 5-second exhale, and you just do a few rounds of this and you'll realize, wow, I could just ground myself. And now I feel much calmer. But imagine if you can do that at a deeper level and you could get back to your true self. That's what we do at AWO. And from that place of calmness, of serenity and peace, now I can create the version of myself that's authentic, that is bold, and you drown out the outer world and you truly go within to create the outer world. So my whole philosophy in life is, especially now in my 40s, is you create from within and your outer world will create based on your inner world. And that's how I really manifest these days. You know, I go within and I ask myself, what does my heart truly desire versus what everyone else is telling me what I should do?
Powerful, powerful. Like, yeah, if you know, a lot of my clients, I've got a few business clients, so I do obviously mindset and business coaching, other entrepreneurs in their businesses, and there's what I'm finding in the entrepreneur space is there is a lot of people that either have ADHD or ADD,
Mm,
whether they're diagnosed or undiagnosed. I know if I went and did the test, I'd be classed as I'd have ADD. Um, and it's only in the last few years that I've sort of looked back on on why I didn't really get into meditation. Like it was a hard time for me to get into meditation or guided meditation. I knew it was good for me.
yep.
I'd do it every day, but I just couldn't get to that next level. And it wasn't until I did that breathwork workshop that I was like, I could connect at a deeper level and stop the thoughts. So I guess anyone that's out there in the audience or listening to this, that if you've got ADHD or ADD and you haven't tried breath work, but you've tried meditation, go out and try breathwork modality, and see if that'll actually stop the thoughts and bring you and center you in the present moment. Because it's been a biggest thing for me that the more I've done breath work, now I can go back and do meditations and guided meditations and actually enjoy it.
Absolutely. And the reason behind that is breath work is meditation.
Mm.
And so like if you've seen like these old women and men, like especially Asian in a park, right? Moving with the wind gracefully, that's Tai Chi. That is a form of meditation. It's an advanced level of Qigong. Um, and Qigong is a form of meditation with the breath. And it's just got movement in it. So now, if you've learned how to breathe and seen the benefits from it, now, yes, you can go into a meditative state where you have no movement and you're just focused on your breath and you're clearing out your mind. And from that state, you can go deeper and deeper and deeper. Because the first time you meditate, yeah, you're not going to be able to close out all those thoughts, but it's okay. Let them flow, let them go, and continue on until you get to a place of stillness, until you get to a place where your mind is not as cluttered or chattery, right? Because we all have this voice or thoughts that just like going 24/7, but it's not our default state. It's the society, it's all the dopamine hits that we get from TikTok, IG, Facebook, just being in this digital world, that has caused our mind to go in that kind of chaotic process, running all the time.
Yeah, it's it's interesting, and like I said, I just think it's something I'm really passionate about, and I think everyone should give it a go and play around with some breath work to see which type of breath work modality works for them, because it's a life-changing thing. Like, you touched on healing trauma.
Yes.
Like some of my clients have had, trauma. They're in their late 50s and 70s, and through the breathwork modality that I take them on the journey, they are able to heal that past.
Absolutely.
Like you said, it's such a powerful thing in terms of healing trauma. Even if you're not sure you've got trauma, like I didn't even know, like I knew I had a money blockage for so many years, but I didn't know there was a trauma in my childhood connected to it. And I had to go through a breathwork process to see what that trauma was, or set the intention if I've got a trauma that I don't know about, to bring it to the surface to show me. And it's such a powerful thing if you can get to that state and level, and unlock that. Because what was happening for me is it was running my life. Like the program, this money blockage was running my life,
Yes.
but I was aware of it, but I couldn't figure out what the cause of it was. So the power of breath work brings you to the cause of whatever's going on in your life.
That's correct. It's because through the breath work, and especially deep breath work, we're able to tap into the subconscious mind. And so during the day, we're living and operating from the unconscious mind. And that's 95% of our brain, literally. And so the subconscious is very concrete, let's just say, very concrete. And so, like, let's say this is like your unconscious, and it's just always doing stuff, reactive. I got to do this, do that. And you're just operating from that field. But the subconscious is just like 5% of the brain, where it's like, our belief systems and trauma and all of that is stored inside there at such an early age. It's like, how do you get into that, and how do you flush that out? How do you reset it? And that's what we do with doing the deep breath work, is we're able to tap into that. And it's almost like when you get into that altered state, it's like you step out of your body. It's almost like you can see yourself in a different perspective. And that's what's interesting. And then now you're able to reframe that trauma instead of as a victim, to learn that was a powerful catalyst for you to grow. And now you are able to reframe that from a different perspective and close that loop and not let it trigger you again. And I think that's what's powerful.
Very powerful. Like, to be able to own the things you perceive as a negative in your life, and see how you can find a way that it's actually serving you and benefiting you in your life, and to own it.
Yes.
It's a profound, powerful thing to experience. You touched on, you've experienced plant medicines. Like, what type of plant medicines have you've experienced?
Yeah. So I guess this is probably the first time I'm talking about this publicly. But I've sat with the Shipibo tribe out of Peru. I've done ayahuasca in a sacred container. And so, just a caveat, if you're looking at doing plant medicine, or if that medicine is calling you, it is definitely a calling. I would not jump into plant medicine wanting a spiritual awakening or wanting to get a new vision for your life. There's other modalities or tools that you can do, which is like the breath work we're talking about. Do the breath work, do the journaling, get yourself whole before you start even consider to look at plant medicine. And I've had my own reasons to dive deep into plant medicine, but I want to caveat that because there's such a mainstream kind of trend, or like FOMO, I would say, lack of better word, in the business or entrepreneur world, even like going on these retreats, ayahuasca retreats, to mushrooms, to all types of plant medicine retreats. And I would really look at that as your last resort. But I've sat with ayahuasca. I've done the sacred toad bufo, 5-MeO DMT. Joe Rogan talks about it on his podcast. I've done DMT, which is more of a synthetic molecule. The bufo is I would say, the next level up from DMT, and it's the more natural molecule that comes from the bufo toad, a various frog, and it's a venom that comes out of him, and they dry it into these little pieces of glass, and then you smoke it, and it's vaporized, and you inhale it. I've done peyote, which is been practiced in, I think, the Mayan traditions, and also in the Native American Indians in sacred ceremony, as a gateway to the spirit world. Very powerful. I sat with peyote. Also, it's known for as San Pedro, so kind of two cactus family that carries that masculine compound, and some mushrooms. So psilocybin mushrooms I've sat with as well. So I would say those are the plant medicines that I've tried.
Wow. And like, I guess with all those altered states from the plant medicine, have you been able to reach some of those states through your breathwork techniques and modalities?
Yes. So I've been able to reach the same state of consciousness. I want to say same. It was basically the frequency, right?
Yeah.
Getting to that frequency. Because if you can get to a particular frequency, you can get there again, just through the mind and the breath. And so when I experienced holotropic at the peak, like 45 minutes into the journey, I knew I had a DMT release because I've done DMT before. And so I knew I had a DMT experience and I wasn't on any plant medicine or psychedelics. And I was just like, wow, this is insane. And so when I facilitated my first live event, because I did a few over Zoom, even my sales team, which is hilarious, right? I took my sales team through a journey and they had such profound experiences and like seeing things through the third eye for the first time. And, getting into this or even having out of body experiences, and there was no plant medicine involved. So that's why I know the power of the breath is that, plant medicine is just an acceleration tool, right? But why do monks and yogis have these ancient practices around breath work and meditation is because they can get to these other realms or dimensions and tap into these other frequencies through that. But then it takes years or even decades to get to that. And I think plant medicine is just another tool to accelerate that process, but only if and when you are ready.
Powerful. Yeah, I guess that the reason I asked that question is like if anyone was like, oh, I don't really want to take a plant-based medicine, it's just starting out on the journey, but would like to experience, another way, which breathwork provides. So yeah, it's quite
just come to one of our events and you'll be able to experience that. And and we're gonna be doing a worldwide tour next year with our launch, Om Sleep. So Awaken with Om is a live event that is sponsored by Om Sleep. This is a company me and my daughter started. We're coming out of stealth mode this week. We've been working on this project for about 16 months now, since last July, and we're shipping the world's most advanced sleeping mask. And it's going to be paired with our Awaken mobile app, where you get to experience breath work, Qigong, and you'll be able to tap into beautiful soundscapes to heal or to manifest or to just simply meditate for peace of mind. So anyways, that's coming soon. And if you are interested in deep sleep, because I think the best way to become the best version of yourself, which is not talked about enough, is not setting goals, it's not journaling, it's none of that actually. It's sleep. You need to make sure you get the best sleep ever. And I promise you, if you biohack your sleep, it will improve all aspects of your life. Goal setting, everything will just rise to the top because now you are ready to conquer the day. And there's so many entrepreneurs that think that they just need 4-6 hours of sleep. And they realize they're irritated, frustrated, running on fumes, and they're just not operating at their best, state of being. So sleep, again, sleep hacking is something I'm getting super passionate about now. And it ties in with everything around mind, body, and spirit.
Very powerful and interesting. Can you talk a little bit about the head, would you class it as a headset?
Yeah, well, it's a sleeping mask. Do you sleep with one right now or no?
No, I don't sleep with one.
Okay. So, back like 10 years ago, I remember I was biohacking, like trying to get my chili pads, because I warm up at night and blackout curtains and all that. And that can get super expensive and not really practical when you're traveling and whatnot. So, most entrepreneurs solve the problems that they're experiencing. Like all my business ventures have been like that. And, I had this vision and idea come to me via a lucid dream. And I woke up just so frustrated because I had earplugs in my ear. I had a sleeping mask that was like not on right. And I had my my iPhone playing white noise, rain and thunder, but it was playing a commercial. And I was like, what the heck? Why is this commercial playing? And it just disturbed my sleep. And I was like, there's got to be a better way, right? That's the entrepreneur aha moment. And so I said, why can't I have a beautiful sleep mask that has beautiful solfeggio frequencies for deep sleeping or binaural beats, and that has beautiful sound and whatnot. So I created basically an all-in-one sleeping mask. And I'll give you a sneak peek. This is our prototype. This is all black. This is my favorite. We have like 4 colors, like white and gold, black and gold, all black, and then we have black and silver. And what's so innovative about this is it's the first eye mask with Bluetooth that has actually EMF protection. So we've partnered with a company called AirsTech. And so we have an AirsTech chip in here that will block, or it will transmute all the EMF radiation coming off your 5G, coming off your Wi-Fi. And so you can have a peaceful, deep sleep, because inside the bedroom, you might have these devices wandering around and you don't even know that it's actually affecting your auric field and your vibration, so to speak. And so, one thing that bothered me with regular Bluetooth masks that are in the market was that it would bend my ear and it would kind of hurt my ear. So we've developed the world's first zero pressure earmuffs. So just like a Bose headphone, you get this beautiful comfort around your ear, and it's great for side sleepers. So it's very soft. I can just, there's no plastic. So just goes around your face, and you get complete 100% blackout, EMF chip protection here. You've got your power on and your sound volume, and you can use this for deep sleep. You can use it for meditation, and you could use it for traveling. So when you're out, on the plane, you just put these bad boys on. You got music, deep sleep, whatever you want to do, multi-use case for this mask. And it's launching this Thursday on 11/16 on Kickstarter. And you can just go to omsleep.co and reserve one. And if you buy one in the first 48 hours, you'll be able to get, I think 24 or 48 hours, you'll be able to get 40% off.
Wow.
So you'll get $100 off your order, because these masks will retail for $249 after the Kickstarter. And then you'll also get $100 or $99 subscription to our mobile app for free when you purchase on Kickstarter.
Awesome. They look impressive. Like I know there's people in the out there, I myself included, when sometimes I wear a Bluetooth headset, I even get a headache. So the EMF side of it would obviously, block that out. So I know some people don't like wearing Bluetooth. So obviously, you've covered that with the EMF.
Yes.
So can
that's
you,
correct.
Can you talk quickly about the EMF side of it?
Absolutely.
What it does?
Yeah, so we partner with AirsTech, who has 22 patents and 8 scientific research papers on this. And basically, it's instead of blocking EMF, it basically transmutes the frequency. So let's just call it negative frequency that's coming into your auric field. This chip is going to transmute that frequency into a positive harmonic frequency that your body is used to. So if you look at the AirsTech EEG reports, you'll see the brain turns red and it's inflamed when you have the cell phone next to your ear or the AirPods. It's going to create inflammation because of those frequencies. With the AirsTech and the Om mask, we'll be able to transmute all that frequency so your brain can stay healthy and your whole body can be in that harmonic default resonance. And that's how the magic works. So now you can still use these devices, but now know that you're protected with this torus field that comes out from the chip itself. And what's powerful is that it's battery less. So you can buy our mask. I was trying to get one of the chips. And it's doesn't require any batteries. I don't have a sample here, but inside the chip, there is a it uses nanotechnology. So there's these resistors around the chip that gets booted basically by the EMF around you. The surrounding EMF will power up those resistors and it'll boot up the microprocessor. And inside that microprocessor, we have 83,251 circles nano etched inside of that creates 16 fractals, and it creates a hologram basically that comes out of that like a torus all around you, surrounding you and giving you complete protection for your entire master bedroom. And that's how that works.
Wow.
Pretty powerful.
Yeah, sounds very powerful. Yeah, it looks like, yeah, that'll be, that's helping and serving a lot of people out there. It's, exactly what you said. It's not a lot of people are speaking enough about, getting quality sleep. Obviously, if you're listening to this and you've got a newborn or a toddler, sleep's the number one thing you need.
That's correct. Like I can take 30-minute power naps with this thing. I just put on a binaural beat and boom, 2 minutes, I'm asleep. Like that's how powerful this is. And because it gives you instant blackout. And soon as your brain senses instant blackout, it starts releasing, serotonin and hormones to allow you to go into that delta state, and then have you drift away into sleep right away versus you messing around and trying to, wind down. Like it's instant because of that blackout and the comfort as well. And also the sound. But if you don't want the sound, we have non-Bluetooth options still with the EMF protection. So you could still get that version. We also have an earmuff version, and we have one without the earmuff for those that don't want the earmuffs. So we have multiple options for any customers, pretty much.
Awesome stuff. And sounds awesome. We'll definitely check that one out. You did touch on Kickstarter. So I do.
Yes.
So if there's any entrepreneurs out there or people that are thinking of starting a business, you're the expert in crowdfunding. Can you touch on that a little bit?
So I would say I've become an expert in raising money from Silicon Valley. So I actually raised 18 million in 3 rounds with my current company, ngt.academy, that's going through a merger right now. Om Sleep is my newborn baby coming out of stealth mode, and we're taking the crowdfunding approach. So instead of selling equity to angels, family, friends, or VCs, venture capitalists, we're using the crowd to basically get product market fit and validation from all these enthusiasts that want an innovative product. So Kickstarter or Indiegogo are 2 platforms where you can launch something new and innovative. Now, you can't just go on there and try to launch a coaching business or launch something super boring like, hey, I'm going to, start selling like, I don't know, like iPhone, cases, right? You need to bring something innovative, right? Like us, we're literally launching the world's most advanced sleeping mask with 22 patents, right? Like this is groundbreaking and revolutionary. So with that crowdfunding, you can basically raise a pre-seed or seed round, right? You want to have a prototype. Some people don't even have a prototype and crowdfund, but I recommend having a product because has been a lot of Kickstarter disasters in the past where founders have an innovative idea, but they never make the product and they never ship it. So all the customers that pre-order lose their money. And I think Kickstarter is getting better and better about vetting those type of products. But, like what I showed you, this is the final product. This is shipping to customers, guys. We are out of the R&D phase. We've been working on this for 15 months. And so we'll be shipping within 90 days once you start placing the order. And so, again, crowdfunding, you could end up raising 100,000 to even 20 million. One of my YC mentors actually was the founder of Pebble Watch. If you guys remember Pebble Watch, it was a groundbreaking smartwatch that, came right before the Apple smartwatch. And Eric, the founder, was one of my mentors, and they ended up doing $20 million on Kickstarter. How crazy is that? Like
Wow.
literally like a
Wow.
series A round, like in one scoop. So very powerful platform to build, I would say, a physical product. So, it's more of like an e-com, I would say, product that are successful on the platform, but it's a great way to crowdfund and not have to give out any equity. And plus, you could validate if this product's going to take off or not.
Powerful. And like, I guess we touched on, you've got a couple big successful businesses. So thinking about the one that failed and the ones that are succeeding, what are the keys to the ones that you think, the massive keys for the ones that are succeeding?
Yeah, I would attribute it to one thing. It's sales. So if you're a business owner, like don't try to hire a VP of sales and have them try to figure it out and be frustrated. No, you need to be the salesman. I mean, maybe it's not what you want to hear, but that was, at least in my experience, the fundamental shift. So it's two things. One, the CEO founder being remarkable at sales and learning how to sell your own product, right? You have to be the first evangelist, ambassador, and salesperson. So that was a big rookie mistake in my first startup. Is I just hired a VP of sales and said, I'm the CEO, I'm just a visionary, I tell people what to do. And that didn't work out, obviously, right? But this, I run an 8-figure business for NGT Academy. And, this business is built on where it fundamentally shifted and we started finding success was making sure that you have an amazing product, first of all, but then becoming the number one salesperson and then building the sales team. So I built my sales team from ground up after I fired my director of sales 18 months ago. And business has been booming ever since I took that over. Now I promoted one of my sales guys to become the director to replace me. So it's not a permanent thing, but you want to start with being the number one person and selling your own product. So that's number one. Number two is building systems. So building standard operating procedures and playbooks. And playbooks is the go-to-market strategy for a particular idea or a project, and then building the SOPs that your team could execute on, and you could actually measure that over time. And so I think those are the two kind of, I would say, key pieces of advices is get really good at sales, and two, get really good at building systems.
Awesome stuff. And one last thing, what does the show is called Unlocked from Within? What does Unlocked from Within mean to you?
Oh, that's an easy one. Because, my signature event is about awakening and it's about unlocking the power within. So that's what that means to me, is that you actually have all the power you could wildly dream of, all locked up inside of you, not in the outer world, but inside of you. And once you really discover that, right, that's the power. And you can unleash that power. Like Tony Robbins has a signature event, unleash the power within. And that's exactly what it means. Find your true self, find your ikigai. All of that is within you. And then from there, we can create the reality that we want to manifest.
Powerful. Again, Terry Kim, it's been an honor to have you on the show. Where can everyone find you? Is it on Instagram, Facebook? What's the best way to find you?
Yeah, best way to reach out or follow me is Project Kim, at Project Kim. ProjectKim.com if you want to download my Kaizen newsletter. And also, the best thing, just a plug, is the best thing you can do for your well-being is grab an Om mask that ships next year, early next year. Grab one of these and see how your life changes.
Awesome stuff, Terry. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thanks, Marty. Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
Take care. Thank you again for listening or watching another episode of Unlocked from Within. Please subscribe and like the episode. Please comment and share what insights you got from the interview. And if you could please also share this episode with someone you think it may help. If you'd love to follow more of Terry Kim's work, you can check him out on Instagram at Project Kim. You can also check him out at ngt.academy if you're interested in knowing more about Zero to Engineer and the program. And you can also find him on Instagram, Zero to Engineer. And you can also check him out on Instagram if you're interested in the Bluetooth sleep mask. That's on Instagram, omsleep.co. And if you'd love to purchase the sleep mask, you can also check out the link in this description. If you're also interested in trying his breathwork workshops, you can check him out on Instagram, which is Awaken with Om. And his website is awakenwithom.com. If you'd love to purchase his book, which is Zero to Engineer, it's available on Amazon. And he's also got a podcast, which is available on Spotify and Apple, and that's called Founders Unscripted. If you want to know more about that, you can check him out, foundersunscripted.tv. If you'd love to reach out to me for my next workshops, corporate events, or would like to experience a one-on-one Unlocked from Within session, whether that's in person or over Zoom, it's perfect for removing and clearing any limiting beliefs or subconscious blockages you may have. And that's best to make a booking at martyclay.com. Again, thank you for listening to Unlocked from Within.